long before the borders of nations were drawn, when the earth was untamed and the people of Africa lived by the rhythms of the land. A boy was born to a village that thrived at the foot of a mountain. His name was Kwame, and his destiny was intertwined with both tragedy and triumph. This is a story of exile, betrayal, and ultimately the reclaiming of his birthright. Kwame's early years were happy, though they were marred by loss. His father, Adu, was a renowned warrior, a protector of the village, and one of the chief's most trusted advisors. But when Kwame was only an infant, Adu was killed during a skirmish with a neighboring tribe, leaving Kwame to be raised by his mother, Ama. Ama, a woman of quiet strength, became both mother and father to Kwame. She worked tirelessly to provide for him, but her husband's death cast a shadow over her. In their village, a widow was often viewed with suspicion, and Ama was no exception. Whispers spread that she was cursed, that her presence had brought misfortune. Ama's words comforted Kwame, but as the years went by, the village distrust of her only grew. Then came the drought, a cruel, unrelenting dry season that stretched on for months. The rivers shrank, crops withered in the fields, and the cattle grew thin and sickly. The elders, desperate to find a cause, pointed their fingers at Ama. Superstition ran deep in the village. When misfortune struck, someone had to be blamed. The elders, convinced that Ama's presence had brought the drought, made a fateful decision. Under the cover of night, they exiled Ama and Kwame, banishing them to the wilderness, where it was believed they would perish, forgotten by all. Banished, homeless, and left to fend for themselves, Ama and Kwame wandered into the wilderness. The days were harsh, the nights even harsher. The once protective arms of the village were now replaced by the dangers of the wild. They faced hunger, predators, and the unforgiving elements. But despite it all, Ama remained resolute. As they ventured deeper into the wilderness, they found refuge in a hidden village, a place known only to those who had been cast out. This village, nestled deep in the forest, was home to outcasts, men and women who had been exiled from their own tribes, warriors who had lost their families, healers who had been branded as witches. It was here that Ama and Kwame found a new home. Akoto, the chief of the hidden village, was unlike any leader Kwame had ever known. He was a man of few words, but immense wisdom. He saw in Kwame not just a boy in need, but a young man destined for greatness. Under Akoto's mentorship, Kwame learned to fight, not just with his hands, but with his mind. He studied strategy, diplomacy, and leadership. Years passed and Kwame grew into a strong, capable man. He became a leader among the people of the hidden village. But he never forgot the village that had cast him and his mother out. His heart ached for justice, but Akoto warned him that vengeance would lead to destruction. One day, news reached the hidden village that the drought had returned to Kwame's homeland, this time even more devastating than before. The crops had failed completely, the livestock were dying, and people were desperate. The elders, now old and frail, were unable to lead, and chaos was spreading. They had no choice but to seek help, and the whispers of Kwame's rise in the hidden village had reached their ears. When the message reached Kwame, he faced a choice. He could refuse, letting the village that had wronged him suffer its fate, or he could return and take his rightful place. not as a boy seeking vengeance, but as a king offering salvation. Kwame returned to his village, not with an army, but with a handful of trusted warriors from the hidden village. The people, once proud and strong, now looked at him with fear and awe. They saw not the boy they had exiled, but a man who carried the weight of kingship in his eyes. In a meeting with the village elders, Kwame laid down his terms. He would not seek revenge, nor would he demand punishment for their wrongs. But he would lead. He would bring the knowledge, strength, and wisdom he had gained in exile to save the village. Only through unity could they survive the drought, and only under his leadership could they find redemption. The elders, broken and ashamed, accepted Kwame's terms. They crowned him king, not out of tradition, but out of necessity. Kwame, the boy they had once cast out, now ruled over the village he had once called home. Under Kwame's leadership, the village prospered once more. He united the people, rebuilt their crops, and restored their water sources. His reign was one of wisdom and justice, and under his rule, the village flourished as it never had before. But Kwame's true legacy was not just in his leadership, it was in the lessons he had learned from exile. The value of compassion, the strength in forgiveness, and the understanding that sometimes the path to kingship is forged not through privilege but through hardship. And so, the boy who was banished returned not as a victim but as a king. His story is a reminder that in our life, our greatest struggles can become the stepping stones to our greatest triumphs. Thank you for watching. If this story of resilience and redemption moved you, kindly like, share and subscribe to our channel. Join us for more stories of human triumph, history and inspiration. Bye for now.